My name is Jean Marie Herron. I'm a certified professional organizer and the business development manager for the Junk Luggers. My mission is to improve the quality of people's lives through the decluttering of their homes and offices in an eco-friendly and non-judgmental way. If you'd like to see more of these videos, simply click the subscribe button. So welcome to Love Your Morning Routine. I am Jean Marie Herron. I am a certified professional organizer, as well as the business development manager for the Junk Luggers of Northern New Jersey and Lower Hudson Valley. And my assistant, Deborah, is on the call as well. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat box for now, and we will get started. So here we go. So, I had several people ask me to specifically do this particular presentation. So I hope those people are either here or going to be listening to the recording, because I think a lot of people hear what I do for my morning routine and they think, one, either I'm crazy, or two, gosh, I wish I had time to do that, or I just wish I did that. So I'm going to get very personal in a couple minutes, but this is really how I grow personally. And I would love to encourage everybody on the call, as I share what I do, to think about what you want to do in order to grow yourself. And Deborah and I were just talking a few minutes ago about how our morning routines have really changed over the years as we go through our different seasons of life. And I was saying, in my 20s, when I, was in the real corporate position, I had a completely different morning routine than in my 30s when I was, raising small children, to in my 40s when my kids were now in school full time and I was getting the startup to an entrepreneurial business up and running. And now that I'm in my 50s, it's almost like a little bit more of time for me. And I don't know what it'll be like in my 60s, but I see an awful lot of people in my 70s, in their 70s that I really admire, and I love some of their morning routines. So this is how I grow. Take what you like and leave the rest, and we'll keep going here. So, I love Stephen Covey. I'm sure you all do too. And he talks about first things first. And I have learned over my decades that I need to take care of me first thing in the morning, because it sets the tone for the day. It sets the mood for the day. It sets the energy for the day. And eventually when I wake up in the morning, I would love to be able to look at this view. I don't know if I would be a runner jumping over this mountain. I do love to hike, but exercise for me is not actually what I like to do first thing in the morning. I used to do exercise first thing in the morning, but I learned my own body, and I'm one of those flip people. I'd rather do the exercise after my work day, because that's when I'm tired and I need the boost. I found that when I exercise first thing in the morning, I was tired after exercising. So maybe I wasn't getting all that, those wonderful endorphins that everybody else is getting, but you have to figure out what it is that works for you. So again, I'm going to share my routine, and I'm going to suggest that you really do a lovely brainstorm of what you feel you want to do first thing in the morning. Because if you don't do what you love, you probably won't turn it into a routine. So, and that's exactly what our good habits become. We want to figure out what we do want to habitualize and turn them into routines, because they become very, very powerful. Like right now, today is actually my mother's 80th birthday. So after this call, I'm going to be driving down the shore to celebrate her birthday and sleeping over. So tomorrow morning, I will not have my morning routine. And even though I'm thrilled to be able to celebrate my mother's 80th birthday, I'm already a little, oh shoot, I'm going to be missing my morning routine tomorrow. But I get to share it with my mom. But powerful routines can really, really help us grow the way we want to grow. So this is what I call my power hour. This is what I love to do every morning, and I really do this. Most of the time, I try to make it an hour, but sometimes it's 30 minutes. But it's at least 30 minutes because it really it really helps me to be who I want to be. So I get up, I do get up in the dark. A lot of times I wake up on my own in the dark. Sometimes I set my alarm, but if I set my alarm and I wake up in the middle of the night for most people, which is 5 o'clock in the morning for me, I'm not upset that that alarm goes off. I'm actually excited because I know if the alarm goes off, it's actually time for my power hour. And I love my power hour so much. So I get up and I light a candle. And just as an aside, I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, a relatively new girlfriend, and she asked me, what I did in the morning. I don't remember why, but when I told her one of the things I did was lit a candle, she texted me the next morning. She goes, "Oh my goodness, Jean Marie." She goes, "All I did was light a candle first thing in the morning." And she goes, "And I couldn't believe how that made me feel." She goes, "It really did, boost my spirit, gave me something a little bit, from a spiritual perspective." And she goes, "Just changing that one thing in my morning was really a positive thing for me." So that's the first thing I do. I do then make myself a cup of coffee like many, many, many other Americans. So those two things are non-negotiables. Everything else on the list can be, it doesn't have to go in this particular order. I may not do it every single day. I might flip things around and interchange them, but I do most of these things every morning. So I usually listen to one or two meditations. There's the Calm app, which I really, really love. So I do pay a subscription for that. I find that their meditations are wonderful. So I listen to at least one, if not two of those. I keep a gratitude journal, and sometimes I write a couple of words. Sometimes I write a couple of sentences. And sometimes, depending on where I am, I might write out a couple of pages. Then I read from what I call my daily readers. So I have a couple of inspirational books that I love to read from daily. It might have different passages for the particular date. And then these particular daily readers are perpetual. So I tend to read them year after year after year. And each time I read a new passage on a new date, even if I've read it 3 times before, I always learn something new from them. I might have a special book that I'm reading. So one of the reasons why I put reading into my power hour is because I was never getting to my reading. And I'd sit down at the end of the night with a book instead of television, and I would fall asleep. And I said, I'm not getting to my reading. So I need to do my reading when I'm awake. And I find that after I've gone through the meditations and half of my coffee, I'm ready to do, some reading. So I always keep whatever I want to be reading on my coffee table at that point. I'll also use this time for creative writing time. So, and it can be professional as well. It doesn't have to be personal. So if I have a special presentation coming up, if I've got, an e-zine or a blog that I owe to Deborah, it's just such a great creative time. I find that what happens to my brain during this particular power hour is my brain is more creative the first hour that I wake up than any other time during the day. So I like to be able to capture that with projects that I might need to be creative on, especially presentations at work. And then the last thing I usually do is I try to end my power hour with affirmations. And for the longest time, I'm like, what are these things? I would hear people talk about them. I would have a couple of friends share what some of their affirmations are. And I realized they're really very, very personal. So for me, when I write my affirmations, it's almost like I'm being a cheerleader for myself. So, this particular quote that I have here, I can't remember, and I apologize because I should always tell you what the resource is. But I don't remember who this is or where I read it, but I love it, and there is no one out there who knows me more than I do. I have the answers within me. Look inside and I will find them. And that's what my hour does for me. That's really how I sum it up. That hour is a time for me, whether it's spiritual or mental. It's when I listen to myself. It's when I hear the little voice inside my head that tells me maybe what I should do or shouldn't do, prayers, affirmation, but I keep a little spiral notebook, and it's not a big spiral notebook. It's like the size of a flashcard. And so what I do is every time I write, I might see somebody else's affirmation or read another affirmation or a quote that I love. I'll put it in the little spiral notebook. And so every day I don't read the whole thing. I'll just, flip it. But I also keep one of those multicolor pens nearby, with like red, green, blue, and black. And as I go through my affirmations on a regular basis, I'll often, with a different color ink, change them as I age or as I change to keep them kind of current as to the way I want my brain to think in a more positive abundance manner. So I hope that makes sense to you all. But the little picture on the right where it says I can't and it's replaced by the word can, I think it's very important. So the last couple of years of my life have been pretty difficult, actually, for most people, especially post-COVID. And I have a lot of dysfunction going on in my life that I have no control over, and trying to handle those non-controllables. This Power Hour sets me up to support myself and move forward through the things that I can't control. Because then when I'm done with my Power Hour and I start my day, that's when all heck breaks loose, because you just go into your day and you don't know what's going to happen. So that's how I like to end my Power Hour, with the affirmations. So last month, we talked a little bit about self-care and how to time map and set yourself aside time for your own self-care. So when it comes to a morning routine, I'm going to recommend this month that you time block it. So you decide when is the best time for you to do your morning routine. And then we're going to talk about what you should do, because it's completely up to you. So the question I would ask is, what makes you feel powerful and purposeful? So, I told you about what I like to do during my Power Hour, but it's different for everybody. Somebody may love to walk their dog in the woods, or just be in nature in general. Somebody else might love to have some wonderful exercise followed by a really, really healthy meal. Other people might want to be with loved ones, babies, grandchildren, spouses. Again, there's the yoga pose. So I would say, what is going to make you feel powerful and purposeful in your morning routine? So start to percolate on what comes to your mind when I ask that question. And then just do a brain dump, grab a whole bunch of Post-its, some scraps of paper, and just start writing it down. Yoga, grandchildren, eating healthy, a 3-mile run, reading a good book, pulling out your Bible. It doesn't matter, because it's what you feel. I would love for this to be part of my morning routine. And if you like the morning idea, and it's not, and you don't have quote unquote time for it yet, can you possibly make time? So in other words, can you get up a little earlier? Or maybe if it's not possible to get up a little earlier, can you take the idea of a morning routine and say, with my biorhythms and my schedule, I would be much better off taking Jean Marie's idea and doing it at 4:00 in the afternoon. Or maybe, my morning routine should be my nighttime, my nightcap, So if you feel like, oh, this is wonderful, but I would like to do this at night or after lunch or whatever it is, that the point is, take this time for your own self-care, your own little setup, and plan it for when you like. So my suggestion would be, if you don't already have a morning routine that you love, do this idea of the brain dump and think about what's going to make you feel powerful, what's going to make you feel purposeful, and get all those notes together, and then block the time and put it on your calendar and turn it into a routine. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A in just a second, but next month our Zoom call is organized as if you could move on a dime. because it's a mindset and a mentality, whether or not you're moving. So that's our next call. And Deborah's going to put in the chat box right now. It's a little further out, but I have a presentation at the Wyckoff Library on Wednesday, April 26th from 7 to 8 p.m. So that's just to hold the date. I haven't put it in my e-zine or anything yet. So that's coming up. And this is how to find me. I think you all know how to find me, but I'm very available. You can call me anytime, send me an email. Still doing personal organizing on the weekends and all of my eco-friendly junk removal during the week. And now I'm going to open it up to Q&A. So I am going to stop sharing. And we have a little less than 15 minutes left. So I would love to hear from you all in Zoom land. Come off mute and let's talk about your morning routine. Now, remember, I shared mine.
I'll share.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Jean Marie and I were talking earlier. I have a morning routine as well. I get up like her. I have my coffee. I like to read. I call them my Calgon Take Me Away books because they're just, love stories or whatever. And then I go to the gym 6 days a week. And this morning, my class that I usually take on Wednesdays was canceled. So I thought I'm just going to start working early. And it threw my whole morning off. I just was out of my routine. So routines are so important. But one thing that I'm going to take, multiple things I'm going to take, Jean Marie, from you is using that time also for affirmations, because I have a whole bunch written in different places. And the more we tell ourselves, the more ingrained it gets, the more we believe it, the more we do it or become it. So I'm going to add affirmations to my list. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm a member of NAPO, which is the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. And I'm on the board of directors with my local chapter. And last month, I ran something called a neighborhood meetup where we did vision boards. So, it's a once a year thing that I do as well. But if you don't know what a vision board is, or you haven't created one, I would suggest you go on, YouTube. And it's another way of kind of putting that visual up, and you want to put it in a space that you're going to see on a daily basis. So mine is actually a cork board, and it's to the right diagonal of my laptop right now. But, what it does is it kind of tickles your, reticular activation system in your brain, and you start to figure out, if I've got a picture of a log cabin and I want to own a log cabin in my future, and I see that log cabin every day, my brain will start to figure out how I'm going to get that log cabin. So vision boards are great too. Anybody else want to chat?
I'll go.
Hi, Terry.
Hi. So I use a vision board because I'm very visual. So I actually I start with a Pinterest. So I have a private Pinterest board, and every year, and it's the third year that I've been working on this. So every year I'll start a new one, and then I'll look back at my previous Pinterest boards just to see like what I've accomplished and what I've moved on with. And so I just put together my 2023 Pinterest board, but what I do is I print it out as well, and I put it in the back of my journal so that I can journal. I remember to look at it every day as a reminder where I'd like to be at the end of the year. So that's really helpful. And then I meditate as well. I have the Insight Timer app, and I'll pick like 2 different meditations and for about 20 minutes. But my whole routine is probably about 45 minutes long before anyone else wakes up in the house. So and I do like the idea. I love the idea of lighting a candle. I'm going to try that.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Those were great tips. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share?
Hi, Jean Marie.
Hey, Sue.
And everyone. Yeah, hi. I love how much you pack into that morning time. My routine pretty much that I'm like you, I feel out of sync if I don't have it, is to go for a 2-mile walk every morning with or without the dogs. And I think I do a lot, maybe I do a lot of what you do, writing down inside. I do that mentally as I'm
Yeah.
walking. And I call it my moving meditation.
Mhm.
But I like some of your ideas. I think it's probably a good idea if I start to write more things down. Although I do have a calendar book where I write things down. So yeah, you have great ideas.
Oh, I wish I had 2 dogs to go for a walk with. I lost my dog this summer and I'm just waiting for the right time to get another one, but I cannot wait to be able to take a walk with a dog again. I love that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in your same boat. The 2 dogs I have right now are my daughters. I'm dog sitting, but I'm also waiting for the right time to get my own.
Animals are wonderful to help us.
They are.
Carlene, did you have something?
Well, I'm just going to say I'm so happy I got on here. I almost didn't because, well, as I told you, I think in an email this past year with my mom being hospitalized so much and then the rehab and all that, it's like constant. I'm constantly being torn to, but I wanted to get on this. And then I said, oh, morning routine. I haven't been able to have a morning routine. This topic isn't really going to help. And then I said, no, I really wanted to see you. And I just like to be, like I like the monthly. And it's so great because I didn't realize until you said the morning routine can be any time that's best for you, because you made me realize I have developed a routine. It's just at the end of the day, because when I would come home from the nursing home or the rehab or my mother's house or wherever I was for 10 hours, I had to come up with time here to focus and pray and do what I have to do to keep me going. So I do, and I have like these little things I do, like I have a book I read and I get on and do certain things. And so I'm so happy I got on because I've been beating myself up about not having the morning routine. In fact, I started walking in the afternoon. I would check the weather and I said, okay, when's the highest weather time, the temperature? And then I would take that time, and every day that would be the morning routine time. So I didn't realize. So I'm so grateful I got on, because I've been saying, even today, I was like, okay, I'm going to get up at 5:30. Well, at 7 o'clock, I was like, oh, I gotta get up. So thank you.
I'm really glad that, especially with everything that's going on with your mom, I'm really glad you are dedicating another amount of time, because I think everybody is just dealing with so much stress in their lives. Most people, I mean, life can be challenging. And I just think that setting aside something like this is a tremendous stress reliever, or it's a help, so thanks.
Carlene, I can relate to what you're describing, because for years, my mom now has been in and out of the hospital, and and I would jump, because it was so urgent, or she'd have these doctor's appointments, and I'd feel like I had to be there when she scheduled them. And looking back on it, I'm thinking, like, I could have told her, like, I'm not available till after X amount of time in the morning. And then I would have had my morning time, and I could have just set limits. And, but that's easy to say in hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could do that, but it's all on me. And when you're in the rehab, like, I don't know if anybody's been in a nursing home or a rehab after COVID and like they cannot hire people. I have a cousin in a nursing home I'm responsible for. You cannot find aides, nurses, even at Valley Hospital a month ago, you press the button for the nurse and 45 minutes later, someone will show up to take them to the bathroom. Now, most people might say that's okay, but I just couldn't do it. So I would just sit there, I'd have my laptop, and we just got into this rhythm. And so whenever she went in, I would go.
Yeah.
And, I also looked at it as time with her, because now she's home and we have palliative care, and every day is a gift. And I'm just so grateful for all the time I spent with her. And then I did learn a lot. Like I learned a lot about the medical and the nursing home and rehab. So hopefully I'll use that someday to do what I really want to do. Volunteer, you know. So yeah. But at least I found my time every day. I walk every day. I write
That's
every
great.
day.
That's great. I see Diana's on here. Is there anything you wanted to add, Diana? I don't know if you're available or not. Okay. Just wanted to know you had a spotlight if you wanted. Any other suggestions, tips, tricks relative to a morning routine or any other routine? Trying to keep it, you know, making sure you keep it for yourself. Oh, no worries, Diana, no worries. So we have just a couple minutes left. We can close a little early if you like. I hope this was really helpful or inspirational to people.
It was.
I find that it was helpful. I find that the morning routine also has to do with the nighttime routine too. If I'm not asleep by a certain time, then the morning routine goes out the window because I'm too groggy or too sleepy.
Sometimes what I'll try to do is what I do in the morning is I'll try to bookend it because it's so helpful for me. It depends. Like I always try to figure out my energy and my schedule at the end of the night because sometimes I'll be working late, but other times, you know, picking up again, lighting the candle or, you know, turning the fireplace on, reading those inspirations. Sometimes I actually reread the daily meditations that I did first thing in the morning. And it really sets a wonderful tone for then going to bed on a positive note, you know, so that's really helpful too. Yeah.
I think the most important thing is whatever you decide to do with your time, take it, whether it's the morning, afternoon, evening, to nourish and fulfill yourself, you know, mentally.
Yeah.
Take care
And almost, and look at that time block as a non-negotiable, just like you would, you know, keep an appointment with somebody else on your calendar. It's just as important to keep that appointment with yourself. Especially as you solidify a routine, like I know Deborah loves her exercise program, loves it, like, you know, cannot wait to get out in the morning and do it, and treats it. But let's say it was the beginning stages where she didn't have a routine yet. And somebody says, oh, you know, can you babysit for me today? Can you do this? Can you do that? Sometimes we have to really fight for our time and say, you know, no, that's my time. And it doesn't matter that it's just your own time. It's like, nope, that's off the grid. Can't do it, you know? So anywho, well, thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you next month. If you know anybody that wants to live with the perspective of, you know, decluttering so that they could organize a dime if they had to, feel free to share. And I hope you all have a great month.
Will you repeat the April event in the library?
Yes, I'll put it in my newsletter. I think most of you are on my newsletter. It'll be on my social media. And I actually don't think the library put the link yet for registration. But I know people get crazy in the spring with lots of things. So
April
I will let everybody know.
From 7 to 8 p.m. Spring clean out.
Yeah, and this is fun. This was a fun invitation because I'm on a panel with 2 other organizers and I don't know them, which is going to be even more fun. So I figure they're probably, you know, like young people on social media and I'm an old person doing old marketing. But we each are speaking on a different topic. So it's just so fun to be invited. All right. Remember, if you want to see more videos on my organizing, productivity, and decluttering topics, hit the subscribe button and you'll be alerted when the next one is ready.